Hi, my name is Vicki Anderson, and I am an instructional technology teaching and learning coach for the Scottsdale Unified School District. Today we are going to look at how Google Forms can be used in the classroom. This is just a brief introduction to Google Forms, and we'll get into some of the more in-depth ways that you can use them later on. All right, to start out a little bit about me. I am a Google Certified Educator, which means I've taken some very difficult tests and made it through in order to get that certification. I am also, on the personal side, an avid scuba diver, and this picture of my sharks is one that I took on my last dive trip in Roatan, Honduras, where we did a shark dive, and it was phenomenal. So, enough about me. Let's get on to the lesson. First of all, I want to congratulate all of you for being willing to take this course in an online format. I know most of you are stepping outside of your comfort zones, and I think it's very important that you're willing to do that, and it shows your willingness also to use those tools with your students. So you might be ready for Google Apps. If you're tired of carrying home papers and papers and papers to grade, I know I used to carry home research papers in 4 or 5 bags at a time to try to get through them over the weekend or spring break. So it's nice to cut down on that paper pile, and we can move toward a paperless classroom with some of these Google Apps. If you wish there were more time in a day, these tools can definitely streamline a lot of what you do. And, of course, you want an efficient way for students to turn in work electronically where it's going to be organized and you can get to it quickly. So, our topics for today. First, we'll quickly go over how to access your SUSD Google account. You have one. All of your students have one. Even if you've never accessed it before, it exists. It's there. It's ready for you, and you can get right in. We're going to take a quick overview of Google Drive. Since you've joined this class, my guess is that most of you already have done some work in Google Drive. That was kind of one of the specifications for joining, so hopefully you have a little bit of comfort level already with Google Drive, so we'll just review that. And then we'll look at some fun that we can have with Google Forms and some ways that they can help you out. Then we'll also go over some quick resources and some of the apps that are available to you through our Google Apps for Education domain. All right, so first, accessing your Google Apps accounts. You have access to this presentation on the training website, so you can click on the link directly, or you can just type it in, no www, just on the URL bar, type in googleapps.susd.org, and then it will bring up the sign-in screen that prompts you to include @susdgapps.org in your username address. Once you've done that, just enter your password. And once you've done this one time, you'll be able to access this account from any Google login screen from any device. And I definitely recommend saving your login info in your phone as a contact, because if you don't have that full faculty username @susdgapps.org, it will not let you into this portal. All right, some of the functions of Google Drive. We can use Google Drive for storage of all types of files. They do not even have to be files that can be opened by Google. For instance, you can save files from your Smart Notebook and back them up here. You have unlimited storage, so it is a great place just for you to store some of your files. We have compatibility with Microsoft Office Suite, so if you have Word docs, PowerPoints, and Excel sheets, you can open those and edit them and work with them and even convert back and forth between that and the Google format. You can organize into files and folders. If you upload files that you already have to store them on Google Drive, they are going to stay in their folders. So if you have subfolders within, all of that's going to stay intact when you upload it. You can create new files and folders, new documents, you can convert files, and you can print, upload, download your files, and then when they're in Google format, an actual Google Doc, Google Slides, or Google Sheets, you can actually track your revision history and share those files for collaboration. Okay, so the steps to creating a Google form. There are a few settings you'll want to make. One is to choose a design theme. You'll want to indicate whether or not login is required, and you want to name the form and add questions. You have a variety of formats to choose from, and then you can view and share your live form. You can also view the responses in a variety of ways, and we'll take a quick look at that as well. So this is an example of how some of your Google Form results come out. You can see the questions that you asked, the answers that were given. It's all fed directly into a Google Sheet, which is like an Excel spreadsheet. And then you can look at a summary of responses by clicking on Form, Show Summary of Responses, and it will bring up the graphs and charts and things that represent your data. So let's just quickly go to My Drive, and I'll show you the steps. You just click on New, and if you go to More down here, select Google Forms. Once that opens up, probably the first thing you're going to want to do is title it. Rather than titling it down here, if you instead title the document itself, it will title the form as well. So we can say that this is our sample form training, and click OK. And notice it's going to insert that title here as well. You can put in a form description, but one of the most important decisions you're going to want to make is whether or not to require login. Anytime it says require Scottsdale Unified School District login, that specifically means the @susdgapps.org account. So your students, teachers, anybody you need to use the form with to record survey data or anything else, you want to, if you want that information to be scraped, you can, and then if you do that, you can also automatically collect their username. Now, if you do that, and sometimes this is a good thing and sometimes it's a bad thing depending on what you're using the form for, but if you check those boxes, then the person submitting the form will have the option of sending a copy to themselves. So if you do that with a student and it's a quiz, then you're giving the student an option to send a copy to himself. So you might want to be careful about that if you've got other class periods during the day you're going to give that quiz to and so forth. But you can also shuffle, question order, and you have some other options here. So if you don't want students to be able to send a copy to themselves, you can simply make your first question name and have them write in their names, and then it'll still collect the data about who the student is without allowing them to send a copy to themselves. All right. Let's look at the question types really quickly. It always starts out with one blank question in a multiple choice format, but if you click down here next to Add Item on this little arrow, you'll see your options for your different types of things you can add. So a text question is going to be short text. Paragraph text is going to be longer, so they could write a full paragraph or more. Multiple choice, they can select one answer. Checkboxes, they can select multiple answers. And then choose from a list is very similar to multiple choice, except that instead of just showing all the options and having them click on one, it's a blank bar that they drop down, select an answer, and it fills in that bar. The scale is for them to rate one individual thing. So you set the scale, what the number is going to be, 1 to 5, 1 to 10. You label the low and high end, and then they can answer that based on what you put on there. For a grid type of question, you have a lot of flexibilities because you can name the columns and the rows. You can have like a list of attributes across the top, and you can have a list of resources along the side, and you can have them check mark which of the items had those elements. You also have the option to do date and time, which typically you'll only use those in certain circumstances. You probably won't use those very much with your students, but you do have those options for questions. Then in addition to question types, you can do section headers, page breaks where it says submit at the bottom and they go on to the next page. You can even set it up so that based on the answers on the first page, they go to a specific next page. And then you can also insert images and videos. So you have a lot of choices here. So once you type in your question, and right now I'm not going to type in a question, but do notice there is a box here for required, and there are some advanced settings based on the question type that you use. we are going to look down here at the very bottom. So this is the message that will be given when a person submits, so you are welcome to personalize that. If you want to allow that device to submit another response, you can allow it to show submit another response. And then you also have the ability, if they are logged in, and if you're requiring login, to allow students to edit their responses after they submit. So sending the form is how you share it through the link that is available, and this send form button is also up here. So you can simply take and copy that, and then you can paste that into a website link, or in an email, or however you want to send it. If you actually want to collaborate with someone on a form, this is the one Google app where you can't track revision history or go back to a previous version. So do be careful about that, but you would do an additional collaborator by clicking on this button here and then actually entering their address to send it to them. Okay, so that's how we send the form, is through the link, and you're going to see an example of that very soon. But you can also, as I said, view responses. You just click on view responses, and it will bring up the sheet that is designed specifically for this form. It names it the same thing with responses at the end, and it is in a Google Sheet format. And then as your responses come in, they'll be entered automatically right down here. You can choose a theme by clicking on Change Theme, selecting over on the side which one you want. It shows you a little bit of what it would look like, and then you can go back to editing the questions. And if you go to View Live Form up here at the top, you will actually see what your form is going to look like when you send that link to people for them to see it live. They can't get into the editing field unless you've added them as collaborators, so you just have this nice clean form that you can use as a survey or quiz or a test or an assignment or anything else that you want to use it for. So going back to our presentation here. Again, if you click on Form and then drop it down and click on Show Summary of Responses, you will see something like this based on the type of questions that you used, and it will actually show written-in answers and also graphs of different types of answers. All right, so when you pull up this presentation, you'll see this slide, and you can click to take a Google Forms survey so you can feel it kind of from the student side and see what that looks like, how it feels, and I'll expect you to do that within this first couple days. Okay, so in addition to Google Forms, some of the other apps that are kind of more advanced and that most people haven't done much playing with on their own, we have Google Groups, which allows you to create class groups, colleague groups. Some of that is done automatically at the district level, but if you would like more training on Google Groups, I can certainly sit down with you and show you how to do that, or we can Skype about it or do a Google Hangout. All right, Google Plus is the social networking side of Google Apps. So it does have a stream where you can, like I follow a lot of different educational resource, different communities and individuals who post things that keep me informed, especially about Google Apps for Education. But you can also use it as a backup system that will automatically back up your photos from your phone and things like that. So it has a lot of features. Google Search, you always want to keep in mind that you have more than just your standard Google search. You can get familiar with the advanced options, including Scholar and some others that are going to take that search and make it more meaningful and for you and your students. And then, of course, we have bookmarking, and there are a lot of options for bookmarking as well. All right, so on the training website, I have shared my Google Apps resources folder with you. It has this presentation. It has the SUSD step-by-step tutorial for getting started with Google Apps in case you need to backstep a little bit and get more familiar, and then additional resources and information, including our upcoming trainings. So always remember to use Chrome as your browser so that you're getting the most efficient use out of Google Apps. Chrome does, include the operating system that all of our Google apps run off of. So if you're using Firefox or Internet Explorer or Safari, you're not getting as much out of them as you could if you use Chrome. All right, some additional resources are linked here, and happy Googling.